Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. Talk very briefly about the author, going to a spoiler-free overview of the plot. Talk about what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I will be reading for next time. Mary Beth Keane is an author who's been writing for about, 5 to 10 years now, and was on some best authors under 35 lists. And was born in the late 70s. She received her MFA from the University of Virginia. This, Ask Again Yes, is her third novel and received some awards. I know it received, it was the Tonight Show Summer Reads, where Mary Beth Keane was able to go on the Tonight Show and talk about the book, which is pretty cool. And is the book, I'll be really careful not to spoil the book here. And try to just give you what's on the available on the back cover. It's essentially a book that takes place over about 50 years and about two families in and around New York State who become intertwined after an event happens in the lives of the two families. There are two characters, Peter and Kate, I believe is the other girl's name, who are a couple, and we follow them both as their children, as well as later when they are a married couple and are adults. The book is told completely linearly. There's no jumping back and forth, but it takes place from roughly 1973 to, I think, almost the present day. So let's say 2018, 2019, about the lives of these two families. So I like that there's a lot of difficult subject matters in the book, and I think that the characters in the book handle them in very realistic ways. The book, in some ways, is about broken families and different ways that families can be destroyed. There's mental health issues that take place in the book. There's substance abuse issues that take place. There's a very brief mention of sexual abuse that takes place. So the book doesn't shy away from those difficult subjects, and I think it handles them for the most part with reverence. There's one part that irked me, and I'll get to that into the things that I didn't like as much. So I did enjoy that, and there's kind of a big theme between, as you age and you grow with people, if how much of your life is determined by the things that happen to you and the disappointments that run in your life and through the lives of your loved ones, and what we do with those disappointments and how do we frame them when looking at our lives and what could have been. So that's kind of the theme that runs through the book, and I think she does a good job of that. I also think the book ends in a very emotionally strong place, that while it doesn't completely wrap everything up in a nice little bow, it does give you some sense of closure in the lives of these characters, which I appreciated. As far as what I didn't like as much, it is very much a character-driven book. The plot, there's not really a single propulsive plot that kind of pushes you through the book. It's really about what will happen in the lives of these characters. And so you either kind of enjoy the characters or you don't. I did enjoy the characters for the most part because I thought they were drawn relatively realistically. But the pace takes a while because you kind of learn about the parents of Peter and Kate and what they've been through. And that's probably the first third of the book. And that felt a little slow and a little bit, like I said, they're not as propulsive as I would like. And I felt that there's a lot of things that happen to these two families. And while it's a conceit of a novel and you can, like all things fictional, there are certain things that need to happen for a plot to occur. It just seemed these two families had to go through quite a lot of stuff. And, that kind of deducted from the realism a little bit in the book, but it wasn't too over the top or anything, but it did at times. There was a little bit of a tightrope where like every single member of this family has something going on with it. So there was that. And the book is a little long. I think the book runs at about 388, and I think the last 100 pages a little bit, you're like, let's kind of get going here because of what I said before as far as different things happening to these family members. And again, I didn't want to do a spoiler full review of this book because I don't have that much to say about it. Overall, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a good read. I did think it handled those things really well. So I again apologize for kind of the vagueness here. But it's essentially a family drama, a modern-day family drama about these two families who become blended after an event occurs, is really the best way to say it. So those things all kind of irked me as far as it is a little bit of a slow book. It is a little bit of pacing issues. I think it was a little long. If you're someone who likes plot and likes having something where you can follow from point A to point B to point C, you may be disappointed by this book, because I don't think it's that type of book. And just the only other thing that irked me, the handling of the sexual abuse that I mentioned earlier, is probably the one aspect of this book that I don't think is handled fully and completely. There's a character who has mental health issues, to where she is violent towards other people and violent towards herself. And if the book had just said, sometimes that is just something that occurs and it's very hard to diagnose, and sometimes medical doctors can misdiagnose something, especially 20, 30 years ago, I would have been cool with that as an explanation, but the author kind of brings in sexual abuse as a reasoning for that, and then it's not fully, in my opinion, handled as completely as it could have been and should have been. So I wish she had maybe just, this character having mental health issues enough, it would have been enough for me to find that believable. And I think that how sympathetic we are to that character is kind of a plot point that goes, it's a narrative throughout the book that moves, and I felt like she was playing that note a little heavier because that character had a sexual abuse past, which I felt was a little manipulative. And then also there's a character who is towards the beginning of the novel, and we really don't see him for the rest of the book almost at all. I felt bad for that character. I have people in my family who've had similar things occur to them to that character, and they took a similar tact, not to the extreme that character takes. But I think he's kind of the one character that doesn't get a ton of sympathy in this book, where a lot of people do horrible, horrible, terrible things, and the author wants us to be sympathetic to them. Now that may be what happened to him, may be realistic, but again, in this book where realism I don't think is 100% the point, I was a little disappointed to have that person become like the villain. And I can't talk about this very much without going into spoilers, but I didn't particularly find him particularly villainous compared to other people, and I thought what he did was one of the more realistic actions that any of the characters took in the book. What that says about my view of human nature, we can debate and argue, but I felt bad for that character, and I wish he had had a little bit more of a presence in a novel. I'll just say that. And so who would I recommend this book to? If you're someone who likes family dramas in modern times, the book is a pretty quick read. The prose is strong. There's nothing in here as far as language that's going to knock you out, but I do think it is competently written. I think she does a nice job. Something I noticed when reading it is she does a very nice job of kind of a close third person, where you're sensing the character's emotions from their point of view without it being completely omniscient, which I thought was nicely done when she uses that technique. But yeah, there's not a ton of scenes that I think will be super memorable to me. It's more of the journey of these characters and their family dynamic, which again, to me felt, if you believe the conceit of the book, the characters, what they were going through, to me felt real, which is a compliment that I can give the author. So that is Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. Again, unless you're someone, if you shy away from topics of, and it's not graphic, the kind of the brief mention of the sexual assault, the implied mention of the sexual assault, I should say. It's not graphic. There is a violent act in the book, but I think it's the only one. It's also not graphic, and there is alcohol and substance abuse issues in the book. So if those things are things, there's an extramarital affair, if those are things that bother you or cause you not to read, I just want to let you know that those things are in the book, and I think they're all handled, for the most part, with the weight and respect they are owed. She doesn't really take any of those things lightly, other than, again, what I said before about the sexual assault. So, and that's in my opinion. So then that's Ask Again Yes. I do recommend it if you're someone who's looking for a pretty quick, relatively short, I should say, family drama, in the vein of like The Corrections or Freedom. Then you could do a lot worse than this. So that's Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. Next time, I'm going to read Lucy Foley's The Guest List. Until next time, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll leave my Twitter link below, and until next time, bye.